The hydrangeas were still blooming the morning we buried Maggie. They were her favorite thick pom-poms of blue, almost the exact color of the dress she wore on our 25th anniversary when I took her to Lake Erie and she pretended not to notice that the rings were cheap and the hotel smelled like bleach. 47 years with a woman will teach you which corners of the world she liked best. It will also teach you where the light falls in a house and where the shadows linger. After she's gone, at the cemetery, Pastor Allen said words I'd barely heard. It seemed obscene, the way the sky was so clean and bright above the Ohio hills. Like it didn't know it was supposed to be dim, people murmured. People clapped my shoulder. My daughter Emily tucked her hand in mine and squeezed once, hard. Enough to anchor me to the grass and the folding chairs and the carved stone that had our name in it already. Waiting, Jason stood a step back, sunglasses on, even though the sun was behind the elms, his mouth in that flat line it gets when he is making a plan. His wife Brittany leaned into his arm, eyes shining just enough to register grief for Instagram. She had chosen a black silk dress that would photograph well. "Dad," Emily whispered as the shovel started. "Come sit." "I'm all right," I lied, because grief is a private thing for men in my generation. Hides in garages and under the hood of Chevys and in quiet corners of hardware stores, where no one will bother you as your eyes correct. Back to steady. When it was over, everyone came back to the house on Rosewood. The same pale yellow two-story Maggie helped choose in '87 because of the way the kitchen window faced east. People brought casseroles, as if noodles and cheese could absorb the absence in the rooms. The house smelled like Dawn's soap and hot coffee and lilacs from the vase on the dining table. I stood at the sink and washed cups, as if washing them were the plan for my life. She had left me notes, sticky notes on the thermostat, reminding me how far to turn it in winter. A note on the dryer saying, "Clean the lint, Walt, every time," and one in her handwriting, folded, tucked inside my suit jacket pocket, which I found by accident because I never wear that jacket unless someone's born or someone dies. It read, "Walter, if you're reading this, you survived the worst day. You are stronger than you think." Then more in her careful script. "I went to see Ms. Carter last month. I made some changes. I know you were mad at me for talking to lawyers without you, but I needed to know I did right by you. I'm leaving you. The SunTrust accounts $600,000. You can keep that a secret for a while if you want to. You always said people show you who they really are when they think you have nothing to give them. I wish we'd never had to find out. Love them. Test them. You'll know what's right. I trust you. Tell Emily I kept the recipe she likes in the cookbook. It's behind the meatloaf page." I folded the letter and put it back in my suit pocket. I didn't cry. I just stood very still, looking out the east window. "Dad." Brittany leaned her hip against the counter. "We should talk about, like, logistics, utilities and such. I don't think you should be alone here for a while, you know? The stairs." She said it kindly, as if speaking to an invalid. "I'll manage," I said. "Or we could stay," she said, looking around at the crown molding and the framed photos. "Just temporarily, to help you." Jason didn't look up from his phone. His thumb moved. "Yeah," he said. "Maybe a week or two. See how things shake out." Emily's eyes flicked to their faces and then to mine. She saw what I saw. Maggie saw things too. She wrote it in the letter, in a softer way than I could ever say it. "People show you who they are when they think you have nothing." That night, after the last car pulled away and the house exhaled the smell of other people, went upstairs to our room and pulled out the shoebox under her side. Of the bed, the shoebox held every letter I ever wrote her, beginning with a note I slipped under her windshield wiper in 1974 that said, "Tea? Coffee? Or something stronger?" The shoebox weighed more than paper should. I added her last note to the box. Then I slipped back the lid and went to the kitchen and got the bottle of Jameson my brother Hank left as a comfort that in truth did nothing but heat my throat. I made a plan. The next morning I called Ms. Carter. "Mr. Bennett," she said, voice crisp through the line. "I'm sorry for your loss." "Thank you," I said. "I got Maggie's letter. I thought you would. She was very particular." The transfer of the SunTrust account is ready. You can meet whenever you like. How about this morning? Next. I called our neighbor Tom Martinez across the street. Tom has been a cop for 22 years. He's seen more things than I want to know. He answered on the first ring. Hey, Walt. Tom, I said. Can you tell me where you get those? Cameras? The doorbell ones? You didn't ask questions? I'll bring you one at lunch. By 10, I was in Miss Carter's office, staring at a figure that looked like more than one life's worth of money. Miss Carter is 50, smart, and has a way of looking at men like me so we don't feel stupid. When we ask what to her, our first grade questions, she slid papers across her desk like she was dealing me a hand at the world's most boring poker table. I signed where she pointed. Do you want to put this into a trust? She asked. What should I want? I know your family, Miss Carter said gently. I know what came across my desk last year when Jason's small business went under. Had helped in quiet ways, with a loan for a food truck that I suspect mostly paid for Instagram ads, and a ceramic smoker that never smoked. Anything but credit. I'd like to be able to live in my house, I said, without anyone well. You know? She closed one folder and opened another. Then here's my recommendation. We create a revocable living trust for you call it the Rose Arbor Trust. You are the beneficiary. Malik can be successor trustee. She's responsible. We record a life estate for you in the house, so that means you have the right to live there until you die. Anyone who tries to sell it without your consent can pound sand. I laughed. It surprised me, the way laughter felt strange in my mouth like a foreign language. Can you say pound sand to Jason? I won't, but I'll write something more lawyerly that means the same thing. Good, I said. Do it. Also, she said, if you want to keep certain transactions private, we can create a single-member LLC. It can buy assets without your name on them. Like what? Like your house, if you wanted to sell to it, or the property. The $600,000 sat in front of me like a quiet animal. Maggie's note pressed against my wallet like a heartbeat. I nodded. Let's do that too. By afternoon, we had papers in motion. The SunTrust money slid into the trust's account. The Rose Arbor Trust, in turn, formed a little company with a big name Red Maple Holdings, LLC. Later, the recorder would stamp documents with dates and times like. This was no more consequential than renewing your plates at the BMV. I ate a turkey sandwich at my kitchen table and watched Tom climb my front steps with a doorbell camera in his hand. You drinking enough water? He asked like a big brother. Jameson, I said. That's not water. He held a drill. Where do you want it? Front door, I said. And maybe one for out back. He installed them and showed me how to see a live feed on my phone. Shouldn't need these, he said. But these days, you never know. Thanks, Tom. I'll be around, he said, in the cop way. That means more than around. By evening, Jason and Brittany were arriving with duffel bags. It had taken them less than 24 hours to decide I needed help. Emily came too with 2 trays of her lasagna and a bag of groceries that included the whole milk Maggie always insisted on and the fancy bread she knew I pretended to dislike. Oh, she kissed my cheek. The house settled, its walls adjusting to the presence of people who wanted different things from it. I slept badly. The way you do when someone is missing from their side of the bed. Maggie used to put her feet on my calf when she got cold. Was cute when we were 30 and felt like a campfire when we were 70. I would kill for cold toes in the night if it meant. She'd climb under the covers and breathe that soft sleep breath that matched the clock. The next days were a blur of casseroles and paperwork. We drove back to Miss Carter's twice to sign. Things I let Jason drive, because it made him feel like he was in charge. He drove too fast and talked too loud. Dad, the thing is, this place is too big for you, he said as we pulled back into the driveway. 2 stories. Creaky steps we both know your knees hurt in winter. Taxes, maintenance. It's just not smart. Let's slow down, Emily said from the back seat. Mom's been gone for days. Jason braked hard. And in 4 weeks, he'll fall down those stairs and break a hip, and then what? Need to plan. Stop the car, I said, calm enough to be a warning. He stopped. I watched the neighbor kids chalk on the sidewalk. I breathed. Maggie would tell me to count the birds if the sky had any, but it didn't. Just contrails, white stripes on blue. We will plan, I said. But we will plan my way. Your way is stubbornness, he said. My way is living in my home, I said. Brittany was on her phone, eyes moving, thumbs flicking. I follow this realtor in town, she said. She's got a buyer list as long as my arm for this neighborhood. We could have a cash offer by Friday. We, Emily said, one eyebrow up, but not unkind. It's Dad's house, Brittany said. Obviously, Emily said, not looking at me. Which is how we have always communicated messages we don't want other people to hear. That night, Jason came into the living room with a glossy folder. A realtor's face smiled up from it. Teeth. Very white hair, very blonde, arms crossed over a blazer. Just look, Jason said. An appraisal. This zip code is hot. It's a seller's market. People are moving back from the coasts, and they want charm. The listing price would be higher than you think. He named a figure that made my eyebrows start halfway to my hairline. Huh, I said. Imagine, he said, what you could do with that. Downsize. Condo in a building with an elevator. Near doctors. Near Emily, I said, and watched him flinch, almost invisible. He always flinches at the idea that life might not reorganize around what he imagined by Friday. A man named Caleb Nolan, who was less glossy in person than his. Picture and seemed actually human, walked around my house and took measurements, and tried not to look at the photo of Maggie and me in Yellowstone, where I got sunburned, and she borrowed my baseball cap, and still managed to tan like she was 25. Caleb said, this place, you want it to shine. Don't declutter it to death. People move into homes, not model units. Then he looked at me in a way that suggested he had an older dad. We list only when you're ready, Mr. Bennett. I'll be in touch. I said that night. When the house breathed and the baseball game murmured from the radio, I opened Maggie's recipe book. She was right. The page behind the meatloaf held a yellowed card for apple dumplings in her grandmother's handwriting. And a post-it with Emily's name and a star. I traced the letters. I traced every curve of her life I could still touch. On Sunday afternoon, Brittany cleaned my kitchen and called it. Tidying while she rearranged the drawer with the measuring spoon so thoroughly, I would never find anything. Again, without her permission. Jason took pictures of the house for the listing. We'll totally take down if you decide not to. Which is the phrase people use when they have already decided. Emily came by with Max, her 5-year-old, who asked me if Grandma Maggie was with Jesus, and if Jesus had a dog. I said I imagined he did. After dinner, when Jason and Brittany went out for a thing, just an hour that took 3, Emily sat with me on the back steps and watched the sunlight drag itself off the lawn. She touched my arm. Dad, she said, I don't want to pry, but I need to ask. Did Mom? She swallowed. Did she leave you enough? I looked at her. She didn't mean enough to build a monument. She meant enough to be safe. She meant enough not to need to put up with anything you shouldn't have to. She did, I said. Emily exhaled. Good, Ma, I said softly. What would you do if I told you I had nothing? She leaned her head on my shoulder. Take you home with me, she said. I'd make you coffee, and we'd rearrange my second bedroom with that ugly lamp you love, and then I'd tell Jason to get it together, because grief isn't a blank check. I nodded. That is about what your mother predicted? She smiled, then wiped her eye with the back of her hand. Of course she did. On Monday, I called Caleb. On Tuesday, a photographer came and took photos that made my house look like a magazine country house. Like I had spent the last 20 years doing nothing but arranging throw pillows. On Wednesday morning, the listing went live. I had carefully, slowly, with Ms. Carter, arranged it so only one kind of offer would ever be accepted. We had written language into the listing that made Jason's eyes light up. Seller prefers cash offer, quick close, and language into the private broker notes that made my life easier. Seller reserves right to accept pre-vetted buyer at list price. No escalation. That buyer was Red Maple Holdings, which was me in a hat. By lunchtime, the showing started. Brittany walked around the dining room like a hostess, explaining what she would have done differently with the chair rail, as if she had lived here since Reagan. Jason paced. He watched the numbers on the screen in real time the way people watch the stock market, when they're wishing the world to be simpler than it is. Offer, he said, pointing when the first one came in. Dad, they offered 10 over ask with no inspection. This is insane. We should take it now. Let the day run, I said. By 2, there were 3 more. By 4, I had a text from Caleb that said, Red Maple at ask. Cash. I texted back, accept. By 5. I had an email with a DocuSign link and the right boxes checked. Was in the right escrow company, Ms. Carter's. Jason burst into the kitchen with his phone in the air like Moses coming down the mountain. Dad, he said, pack your bags, the house is sold. I smiled at him, a smile that surprised me because of how warm it felt. I had not smiled much in the last 2 weeks. But the world is nothing if not surprising. I know, I said. And I already packed. Brittany clapped her hands. Oh my God, that is such good news. We'll get on Zillow tonight and look for those condos with the pool, or maybe there's a new build over in Maple Glen. It would be so cute if you could walk to that cafe with the vegan muffins, but I said it and it felt like letting a sail catch the wind. They weren't my clothes. They stopped. The house was quiet except for the refrigerator humming and the tick-tick of the clock over the stove. What? Jason said. I packed too, I said, standing slowly yet. Takes me a second. The knees are funny whether or not we talk about them, but I packed your clothes. And Brittany's there in the garage. He laughed. Thought it was a joke, the way things he can't imagine always start as jokes. He looked at Emily. She didn't look away. Dad, he said. Are you okay? I'm fine. Said, are you? What is this? Brittany said, the light gone from her voice like breath from a glass. What are you doing with our clothes? There's a suitcase with your initials on it by the workbench, I said gently. Sure. Makeup bag is inside. Jason, your suits are on the rack. The rest is boxed and labeled. You can't be serious, Brittany said, and her phone clattered onto the counter. The first time I'd seen her, not holding it all week, Jason rounded the island. Dad, he said, this is our house. We sold it. You need to vacate, so they can take possession. You have like a week. This is my house, I said evenly, and it has been since. I signed the papers in 1987, but you're right about one thing. Someone is taking possession. The buyer. Red Maple Holdings, which is what a hedge fund. Brittany made the word sound like an obscenity she learned yesterday. It's a little company, I said, owned by the Rose Arbor Trust. Jason blinked. And that is me? I said. It's me. He stared as if he had misplaced something he couldn't name. You bought the house? Brittany's voice climbed. I did, I said. We put a life estate on it. Miss Carter can explain. It means I have the right to live here until the day I die. No one can sell it out from under me unless I want them to. Then what was the point? Jason said, furious of the listing. Of the showings? I talked to 3 buyers today. It was necessary, I said. To demonstrate market value, for one. And to avoid the appearance of self-dealing. Caleb knows what. It means when an older man wants a clean transaction and not a fight. I kept the house. You sold your expectations. He opened his mouth and closed it, so that he waved his hand toward the living room. The money, it changed hands, I said. Now we can go over the specifics later. In short, I sold the house to an entity I control for a fair market price. Then the entity granted me the right to live here until I'm gone. That's spelled out in black and white, recorded at the courthouse. He stared, Brittany stared. Emily put her hand over her mouth to hide a smile that, later, she said she couldn't help you played me, Jason said. And his voice had a note I had heard when he was 11 and someone took his place in line. I invited you to be honest, I said. You told me who you were? I listened. Brittany found her breath. This is manipulative, she said. I moved into this house to help. I picked up your prescriptions. I did your laundry. And you packed my clothes? She said the sentence. Like it was a crime. Your help smelled like lemon cleaner and the inside of an open house, I said, not unkindly. And you sent my pantry to Jesus for the sake of Instagram. God, she said, turning on Emily. Say something. Emily swallowed and straightened, and became the way I always see her, when she knows she has to say the thing no one will. Like, I'm here, she said to me. Whatever you need. Jason dragged a hand through his hair. He looked like Maggie when she was furious-sized dark and bright. The resemblance always came out most in hard moments. I felt a weird tenderness, even while a part of me wanted to shake him by the shoulders. You have a week, he said, going back to the script he came in with, because sometimes that's all people know how to do when the plot changes. You have to vacate. No, I said. You do, he laughed without humor. You can't make me. I put my palms on the table because it's solid oak, and Maggie ran her hand over it every morning we sat here with coffee. Jason, I said. The recorded deed says I can. The legal right of occupancy says I can. Miss Carter can walk you through it. Tom across the street can explain what happens if you refuse. But I hope we don't get to that. He must have seen the truth in my face, because he looked away first. You think you're so clever, he said. You think Mom would be proud? That you tricked your own son. In my pocket, the edge of Maggie's letter made itself known. It pressed into me the way her toes pressed to my calf. I took it out. I hadn't intended to show it to anyone yet. But life, like baseball, doesn't always ask you if you're ready before it sends the ball. Your mother, I said, left me instructions. She left me letters, and she left me a way to be safe. She left me money. Jason's head snapped. Up? What money? Brittany's eyes sparked. What did she leave? To who? None of your business, Emily said too quickly, because she is still trying to be everyone's better angel. One thing at a time, I said, and I read aloud. From the letter, the part where Maggie wrote, you can keep that a secret for a while if you want to. You always said, people show you who they really are when they think you have nothing to give them. I wish we'd never had to find out. Love them. Test them. You'll know what's right. I trust you. The kitchen was quiet, except for the refrigerator, which suddenly felt like a third character in the room. Loudly cooling something we did not deserve, Jason shifted his weight. She left you money, he said flatly. She left me a way to stay here and not be forced out, I said. How much? Brittany said. It's a fair question. No, Emily said. No, it's not. I folded the letter. It was enough, I said. Enough to do what I did. Enough to know who loves me because I'm me and not because I am a 2-story yellow house with blue hydrangeas and equity. Jason paced. He flung his hands like the air had done him harm. So what now, he said. We're homeless. You have a lease, I said. Lest you quietly let it slide because you thought you were moving here permanently. Brittany looked at him. It was her turn to flinch. Jason, it's fine, he said. We'll figure it out. We always do. Then, to me, Dad, you think this is some great moral lesson? It's not. It's petty. He stopped because he had run out of words and because he heard it when his voice hit too high a pitch. Listen, he said. This is a house. It is wood and plaster and the place where your mother breathed her last. I will live here as long as I need to. That doesn't mean I will live here forever. Maybe I'll move to a place with an elevator. Maybe I'll buy a condo near Emily, but I will do that because I want to. No, because someone shouted in my kitchen about a listing. He blew out a bitter laugh. We shouted because we were helping. We were shouting because you wanted. The check, Emily said. She was calm as still water and twice as dangerous. You wanted that money to fix what you broke when you decided you were too good to work for someone else and not quite good enough to work for yourself. That's rich coming from a teacher, he snapped. Okay, I said. No, that's enough. Brittany's eyes glittered. So we have to leave. Yes, I said. Today would be fine. Tomorrow would be better. There are boxes in the garage. Your clothes are already packed. I can't believe you, she said, with a tremor that suggested what she meant was, I can't control you. This is cruel. It's boundary, I said after they had run down every ineffective gesture left to them, shouting. Door slamming, the rattling of drawers. Jason grabbed the suitcase with his initials. He stopped at the threshold and turned back. "What about us?" he said. "What about what we need?" I looked at my son, my boy who had grown up in this house, who learned to ride a bike on this street, who ate grilled cheese sandwiches with his sister at that table. I saw his anxiousness and his fear braided with his blame. I saw the parts of him that were Maggie and the parts that were the worst of my stubbornness. Doubled back. "I'm not done being your father," I said. "Which is why I'm going to tell you this. You can come back when you're ready to visit, not to claim. You can stay for dinner if you bring something homemade and your phone stays in your pocket. You can ask me for help if you tell me the truth about why you need it. In return, I will help, but not like this." He stared at me. "Do you think this will make me respect you?" he asked. "I think," I said softly, thinking of the letter in my hand that your mother asked me, "to show you what kind of man I am, and I'm doing that." Walked out. The door closed. The house exhaled again. Brittany's heels clicked down the sidewalk like punctuation on a sentence. I didn't write. Emily stood by the sink and put her hand over her eyes. "God," she said. "That felt bad." "It did," I said. She took a breath. "Do you want me to stay?" "I do," I said. "But you should go home to Max. He needs pancakes in the morning, and I only make pancakes on Saturdays." She smiled the way people smile when they are about to cry. She came across the room and put her head on my chest like she did when she was 6. "I love you," she said. "Me too," I said, then laughed. "Your mother always hated how I say me too, like I'm agreeing to something instead of saying it." "She did," Emily said, laughing into my shirt. She hated that. After she left, I walked through the house and touched things like a pilgrim. Touched the doorframe. "Where we marked heights in pencil, Jason. 5-2, the 9th of May, 96. Jason Woolsen. The 1st of September, 96, sand the gouge in the kitchen floor from the time I dropped the Dutch oven and the spot on the living room wall where the sun hits at 4 in winter and makes look like the house is winking. I went to bed. I lay on my side. I put my hand where Maggie's shoulder would be. I breathed. In the morning, I woke to my phone buzzing. It was the doorbell camera. Tom striding across my porch. He had brought coffee. "You did it," he said. Handing me a paper cup, I did. "Need me to stand here and look large when they come back to argue?" "Maybe," I said. "We'll see." He grinned. "I always liked you, Walt, but I like this version of you even better." "I don't," I said, and then I did. A little. "There is no clean ending to family trouble. Trouble leaves a film. Gets in your teeth and your hair and the corners of your kitchen. And you scrub and you always find a little more. Still, the days take you forward." That Tuesday I went to the DMV and got the car title updated to my name alone. Wednesday I took the old coats from the hall closet to the Goodwill off Main. Thursday I cleaned the garage like a man possessed. And found all the things you always find when you clean a garage after 40 years' nails that don't match each other, a jar of pennies, a little brass bird Maggie bought in a store in Vermont, shaped like a barn. I cried in the garage, with the door up, so the world could see, if it wanted. Jason called. I let it go to voicemail, he texted. I let it sit. He left a message that said simply, "I'm mad, but I'm not stupid. Can we talk without you packaging my life into a lesson?" I typed back. "Yes." We met at the diner on Oaken First, where the coffee is good, and the waitress calls you baby with no irony. Jason sat across from me and fidgeted with the sugar packets. "I was wrong," he said before. I could say it for him. Not about the fact that this house is impractical for you. In 5 years it'll be a hazard, but about how I went about it, about timing. "That's half of it," I said. "I saw a number," he said, and I did math. And then saw that number more than I saw your face. "Brittany," I said quietly. He smiled an ugly smile and shrugged. "She's good at wanting things. It's part of her charm. It's the other part of her that needs work." "I remember," I said. "A little boy on Christmas who wanted a red fire truck and got a green one and cried for 4 hours. He grinned despite himself. That was a big deal." "It was," I said. "And your mother took you by the Handon showed you how the ladder went up, and how the little hose attached to the little plastic hydrant. And you loved it anyway. I miss her, he said. So suddenly and so quietly that the space in the diner seemed to lean in. Me too, he said. He put his head down and cried the way men cry when they are tired of not crying shoulders. Sound wiped away like it didn't happen. The waitress brought more napkins and pretended we were two strangers she had never seen. Dad, he said finally. You always loved Emily more. I sat back. Felt like someone telling you your own name and getting the letters wrong. No, I said, and the word was a stone. I loved you both differently. I loved you while you lit fires and climbed things. I loved her while she read books and observed. We were hard on you because you demanded it. We were softer with her because she didn't. That's not more. It's just two. He nodded. He stirred his coffee like he could make it into something else if he kept going. I'll pay you back, he blurted. For what? For the money. Later, if you need it. If there was money involved in buying the house, he smirked weakly. Heard there was an investor with deep pockets. I don't want your money, I said. What do you want? I want you to bring your son into a house and show him how the ladder goes up, I said. Want you to take a job that is a job, not a story you tell about yourself. I want you to call your sister. I want you to come sit on my back steps and watch the light move without trying to sell it. He nodded again, slower. I can do that, he said. Good, I said. Now have pancakes with me. We ate pancakes. We talked about the Guardians and about how the city was changing and staying the same. He told me about a guy he knew who needed someone who could talk to people and not be a jerk about it. The job had benefits and a 401k and a schedule that would put him home for dinner. He said he would apply. I said I would believe it when I saw it and stopped short of promising to hire him if he didn't. We finished our coffee and the waitress said, Baby, you two gonna be okay? I said, we'll be okay. I did not know if that was true, but I liked the way the sentence sounded out loud. In the weeks after, the hydrangeas faded. Leaves browned in the way leaves do when they are ready to go and need no one's permission. I went to the cemetery twice and sat on the grass and told Maggie about my day. I told her about the trust and the house and the way our son had shouted and the way we had all learned our faces again. I put daisies on the stone because the hydrangeas were done and daisies seemed to me like honest flowers. I told her about Max learning to read the word stop and then yelling it at every red octagon in town. I told her about the way the carpenter, he found the wood on our porch and the way. I couldn't bring myself to get rid of him because he felt like company. Emily came every Tuesday for dinner. We made her grandmother's apple dumplings and burned the first batch and ate the second, right from the pan, blowing on our spoons. Jason came by on Sundays sometimes, at first stiff as a board, later softer, and brought a casserole he swore he made, and then admitted he picked up from Trader Joe's and put into his own dish. He asked about the house, but not about money. He got a job, and he kept it for 3 weeks, then 6, then 2 months. Brittany posted less and smiled more and never again rearranged my drawers. We were learning Ms. Carter sent me a copy of the recorded deed. It had the stamp, the county, the page, the ministerial details that make a thing real on paper. It in the shoebox with the letters because, in a way, they were the same. One evening in late October, I sat on the back steps with a sweater on and the radio low. The air smelled like leaves and something faintly sweet. The moon was a skinny coin, Tom waved from across the street. Emily texted me a photo of Max in his Halloween costume, a very serious dinosaur. Jason texted me a picture of a ladder. It was fully extended, he wrote. It goes up. I laughed, put my hand in my pocket, felt the corner of Maggie's letter, and pressed it like a button that connected me to her across time. Sometimes I talk out loud when there's no one to hear, 'cause the air inside a house needs to be used for something. Mag, I said, you were right. People show you who they are when they think you have nothing to give them. Sometimes. They even show you who they can be when you give them back their own clothes and tell them to try again. The house on Rosewood looked back at me like a friend. It knew my steps and the way I put my hand on the banister in the dark, and the way I stand at the kitchen sink when I'm thinking. Someday, I will leave it. The stairs will ask me to, or my knees will. When I do, it will be because I am ready, not because someone shouted. Until then, I make coffee in the morning, open the east-facing window, and watch the light move across the floor like a living thing. And if you want the truth, I still sometimes open the closet and smell her sweaters. I still sometimes lace up my shoes and forget why I walked into the room. I still sometimes pack a bag in my head, out of habit, out of fear, out of love, and when I do, I smile, because the bag I packed that day wasn't mine. It belonged to the children we raised, the lessons they needed, the ones we both hoped they would learn. I smile because I had already packed, but they weren't my clothes. They were the clothes of the boy we made, the man he might yet become. 1. Life ends. Another changes shape. The hydrangeas sleep and wake. The doorbell camera pings and Tom walks over with coffee, and Emily shows up with bread and Jason texts me about benefits. The house stays, for now, the way a heart stays beating, even when it aches. And in the quiet, when no one is asking anything of me, I pull out Maggie's letter from my pocket and read the lines she wrote as if she knew, as if she always knew. Love them. Test them. You'll know what's right. Trust you. I fold the letter. I press it flat with my hand. I look out the east window and I count the birds.